What are you eating right now, Jonah?
I'm eating some very cold kale.
Let's see you take that big bite. Oh, wow. Man, so we got Jonah here, the man, the myth, the legend, the tree expert. Well, both of us kind of feel like we're not experts a lot of the time. I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but for myself.
We have areas of
always
expertise
learning.
that we are always learning in.
Yes, yes. I never want to consider myself already, you know, done learning.
Oh, there's always more to learn.
Always more.
Even when you're a master at something, there's always more to master.
Yep. Always asking questions, always got that curiosity. Today, we came out here because I was looking out the window and saw the garden. I was like, what can we talk about to help some folks out as far as gardening goes? And one of the main things that I thought of was this garden perimeter going around the garden. And Jonah and I got to talking about why we do garden perimeters. We have 5 thoughts on that. He just keeps chomping away on this kale.
It's delicious.
I gotta have some now. Man.
Join me, bro.
I'm gonna join you with the kale trend here.
So crunchy and good. The little like frozen little droplets of water in there really
Niblets.
give it a nice crunch.
Crunchy little niblets. It looks pretty good there.
Cheers.
Tink. Good stuff. So, why do we do garden perimeters?
Tell us, Benj, why do we do garden perimeters?
Well, number 1, this is actually really good. It's like
I told you.
doesn't have that like bitter taste. It's just sweet. Sweet and kind of almost like nutty.
Yeah.
Nutty flavor.
Definitely has a nutty flavor.
Man, this is why we garden. Eat good stuff. Kale is so packed with nutrients.
Oh man, that's one of the best things
It's
you can
unreal. Okay, garden perimeters. It prevents other weeds and other and more invasive plants from coming into your garden. It stops those rhizomes and those stolons from going underneath or over top of your perimeter and infiltrating your garden, especially if you're doing no-till, no-dig. You want to keep the area clean of those types of roots. So if you have that barrier, and for me, I have a barrier of, let's walk over here. We've got this right here. It's just pieces of lumber, rough cut lumber that I got from my friend Robert, and they're working really well. They're a great perimeter. They're about a foot wide on average. From there, I have a border of wood chips. So all in all, what did you say, about 3 feet? 2.5 feet.
It's probably about 2.5. Because
Yeah.
I think you've got about 1.5 foot of wood chips and then about a foot wide of border.
Yeah.
And that's keeping a good space between the yard and the edge of the yard and then the beginning of the actual growing space.
Actual growing space.
Which a lot of people don't do. A lot of people, they make the growing space all the way up to the border, which can sometimes, if your border's not wide enough, the grass will grow right under it, especially if it's not deep enough. You did a good thing when you laid this down, is that you laid this down about 3 or 4 inches on top of the cardboard that you put underneath, that you then put the wood chips on top of. And so it killed the grass about halfway underneath the border and prevented it from growing up underneath the border and growing into the garden. And as you can tell, Benj, if you just give a quick look, there is no grass growing in your garden.
Yeah, it's doing good. We do have, just to be completely transparent here, we do have a few violets coming up. See these? Those are little African violet, not African violets, those are just native violets coming up. Those are going to mean coming in and pulling out the actual roots, because those are some serious guys there. I'm sure we'll have a few other types of more perennials pop up, but that's to be expected when you're installing these no-dig gardens.
And these
the
are
first,
also,
second, and third years, you're trying to pluck them out.
These are also here partially because this growing area has mulch that is farther broken down than the pathways.
Yeah.
So it's not as thick of a covering, and it's more conducive for plants to come in and grow very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to come up there more, but
because it's closer to soil.
Got to just take the time to come through and clean that out over time.
Yep.
But the initial covering is going to smother out the majority of those weeds. Bermuda grass is another story, but more videos to come on Bermuda grass. So that was number 1. Number 1 was we don't want those weeds to infiltrate. Number 2 is pests. We want to keep pests from hopping in the garden. Now, bugs, they tend to follow, you know, they follow food. They follow from plant to plant. But if you have this barrier, whether it's like we have a border of basically decaying tree materials, or if you have like a plastic row,
or if you have a fence.
A fence, all kinds of different barriers you can have of areas where they have to go across that to be able to find your plants, unless they fly, and that's another story. But a lot of the creeping crawlers, you know, they're not going to find you as well. So it is a potential pest managing tool. And then number 3, Jonah, can you think of number 3? We had talked earlier about that.
Yeah, number 3 would be aesthetics. A lot of people, you know, not everybody, but a lot of people really like and appreciate order. And whenever you have a border around your garden area, it just gives you a nice sense of order and just cleanliness in your mind. You know, you can see a distinction between where the yard ends and the garden begins, and you can say to yourself, okay, this is the space I have to work with, and within this border is where I'm going to plant everything. And so it looks nice.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, it's aesthetically pleasing. So number 4 might actually seem counterintuitive, but it's a reality. It's keeping the borders in place to keep plants in the garden from growing out into the yard. Sometimes you might want to grow things that are slightly invasive, such as mint or strawberries. Those are 2 plants that grow really well and they spread very quickly, but they have a tendency, if left to their own devices, will grow all over your yard, and they could end up potentially harming the local ecosystem. Become invasive. And so having a border that's established in your garden and planting those plants within the border makes it a lot easier to, number 1, manage them. If they do try to spread, you can easily just cut them back to the border, and it encourages them to grow within that border. Because that's where the healthy soil is, that's where the wood chips and the mulch and everything is. And so they're not as likely to be spreading outside. And especially if you have a thick wooden border like this, they can't grow on the wood. And so they're going to kind of stop right here once they get to this point.
Nice. Yeah, so it really does protect not only your own garden, but the surrounding ecology.
Yeah.
All right, we're having way too much fun right now, aren't we? Gardening is always so good, even though it's like 20-something degrees, I think.
And my nose is cold.
It's very cold. We're about to hop back inside. But we have, I think, the most exciting thing on the list as number 5, last but not least for sure, is these borders act as a way of locking in your benefits. Do you want to talk about what we were talking about?
Whenever you have like really good material like this, like whether it's compost, wood chips, any kind of organic material, manure, you're basically putting money in the bank, right? You're building the soil. You're trying to build the soil long term and have a really, really good place to grow whatever crops you desire. And when you're doing that, you don't want those materials to be washing away or being blown away by the wind. You want to lock them in and keep them in the particular place that you're trying to grow. And so what a border does is it helps any kind of erosion or prevents runoff or anything coming in and trying to wash away all of this.
All your hard work.
All your benefits.
Yeah.
It keeps the money in the bank.
Big time. Even if you're not doing no dig, if you're doing just like a tilled garden, even then it's going to prevent erosion, because let's say it is sloped like this, we're going to be, you know, having water come from this way but also down there, so we'd be losing soil over there if we didn't have it all locked in right here.
But you can look at this and you can see nothing has washed away. It's all still here, everything that we put here.
It ain't going nowhere.
Ain't going nowhere. Yeah. And it's only going to continue to build the soil and get better and better over time.
So yeah, borders lock in your benefits. Awesome. Well, we got those 5 in, and it's cold, so we're about to hop back inside. But y'all, thanks for watching. I hope to have some. Actually, tomorrow I'm going back out to do that raised bed project. Going to be knocking a lot of that out, filling the beds up some more, and then hopefully bring in pea gravel and almost complete the job. Finish that grapevine trellis. So all that's happening, and Jonah hopefully do some more tree videos with this guy. There's all kinds of borders. I might list some more on the video description. I know Mr. Paul Gauchi does railroad ties sunk underneath the ground so that they, what do they come up like, what, how far, like,
I
like
think
2
they're-
inches or something?
No, I think they're flat with the ground.
They're just in the ground, so he's preventing any type of roots coming in from underneath.
Yeah, because he's got a lot of thick grass, and so he's trying to make a very hard line between his lawn and his garden area. And the railroad ties do a really good job of preventing any of the grass from growing into the garden.
And he hasn't had any problems with the toxins,
the creosote?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all. He said he's had them in his yard for 20 years, and he said he's never had an issue.
Wow. Yep. I gotta look into that more too, because I've heard probably some of y'all are thinking, what, he's using railroad ties, you know, and there's all kinds of opinions out there, and I need to do more of my own research. But if it's working for him, that's awesome, big time. And these are working for me. Plus, wood chips are great. Like Curtis Stone, he recommends to put. I saw a video where he recommends putting like a 3-foot wide plastic barrier just stapled down all the way around your garden. That's another option. It's probably the quicker option. But all right, y'all, thanks for watching the Garden Guy channel. Got Jonah here. Good times, good times. See you guys next time. Keep sowing and growing.